The owner's wife can smell the rubbish in the bedroom.
This might be a complete surprise to you, but I used to be a complete introvert.
Happy days. We're in Antigua, and you guys know that we started the Crew Chronicles, like this podcast where we trying to find crew and with interesting stories. We did one amazing one down in Palma, and you know what? We thought, if we're traveling to Antigua, we're going to record a few more, and obviously. We also are going to start with in this podcast to introduce like a sponsor per podcast. Why? Because we believe we can elevate this podcast even more if we get the industry support. So I'm really happy with my guests today, and I'm going to start with the main guest. I mean, I think you need to introduce yourself. I think nobody knows you. Like, don't you think? It's like you're one of those hidden faces of the industry.
Very hidden face of the industry. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Captain Kelly. So thanks for being on here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this. This is just such an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and Kelly and I are really close friends, and we do a lot together.
We do.
Today, I want to dive deep. I want to know this. I mean, you're doing so much good for the industry,
Thank you.
And I want to dive in, like where it comes from, because I think that's everybody always looks at like what you deliver, but I really want to see where you come from. And we're going to do some trash talking today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Some trash talking, because next to you we got David. Like, can you introduce yourself for a second?
Yeah, my name's David Gates. I run a business called Complete Yacht Solutions. One of my other businesses is Super Yacht Rubbish, and I've been in the industry for 23 years.
That long?
I do a lot of hashtag trash talking.
Yeah, so we're trash talking today, and I'm going to dive deep with Kelly, and then we're going to talk about like. Well, anything that has to do with waste, rubbish, environment, because it fits very nicely in the end, like with what ACRU stands for. We want to do something good for the industry. Kelly, you're all about doing good for the industry. So let's see where this leads, right? And if we hate it, we throw it away. But we think
then it becomes rubbish.
Then it becomes rubbish, right?
It becomes rubbish.
So let's. And you said, David, earlier, like that you're interested in hearing her story, right? Like,
Of course, yeah.
And we all are. So let's start at the beginning, because I'm not gonna ask. I had a leading question in mind. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna let you tell the story. How did Kelly Gordon end up as a captain on a boat?
Well, and I know it's because you've heard the story and you know where I come from. And so I grew up in North Central Indiana, the furthest thing from the yachting industry. I mean, you cannot get any more landlocked than that.
Yeah.
And I actually quit high school when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I was largely bullied throughout high school, and I just didn't like it. I made good grades. I was a stellar student, but I got to the point to where I was just like, you know what, Mom, I don't want to do this anymore. So I quit high school, and I ran the farm. Fast forward, then I said, well, maybe I need to do something a little bit more substantial than running the farm. We just had a small farm. And I said, well, let me go back to school. And I actually went back to trade school and became a welder. And welded within the industry for a couple of years, was really good at it. And that ended up being what put me through college to get to what had long been my lifelong dream, which was to be a veterinarian. So I got my bachelor's degree in chemistry and got into veterinary school the first time I applied, which is unheard of.
Why?
It's extremely competitive. It is extremely competitive.
Veterinary school is competitive.
Extremely, yeah. And at the time, there were only 23 veterinary schools in the United States when I applied. So there was about a third as many veterinary schools as medical schools.
Okay.
So it was extremely hard to get in. You usually had to apply 2 or 3 times. And the fact that I got in the first time was just like, whoa. So that required me to move away from home. And I did so, and when I got there, a lot of things were going on. I was 22, which is so young, and had just gone through a bad breakup. I couldn't really afford veterinary school. I'd taken out maximum student loans. You know how expensive school is in the United States. And now I've moved away from home, and I really just took a pretty hard nosedive with depression and with myself, and didn't want to be there, so I quit. And after I quit, I became very, very ashamed of myself. Wow. And thought that I was a complete and total disappointment to my family. Yeah. So at the time of 22, the smartest thing in my mind was to run away with the next available man that came along. So I met a guy. I said he was good enough for me. And and moved to North Carolina. And I said, well, you got a bachelor's in chemistry. What are you going to do now? And I said, well, I'll get my master's degree in chemistry. Ironically, we're talking about sustainability and rubbish and trash. Then my master's was in atmospheric chemistry. So naturally, I am very have a tug with the environment of gravity. And so then I started teaching after I finished my master's degree. And the very first semester that I taught at this local college, a student of mine was back for a second degree, and very huge part of the community. I had no idea where I lived on the eastern seaboard in Beaufort, North Carolina, which is a major transit, a major port for our deliveries north and south during the seasons. Had no clue that I lived there. And this student of mine was a very integral part of the town. She was on all the committees, just very involved, and saw that I was new and wanted to show me around. So I said, after grades are turned in, we'll hang out. And lo and behold, the day that I turned the grades in, she calls me up and she says, okay, come on, we're gonna go to an event. And I begrudgingly didn't want to go. This might be a complete surprise to you, but I used to be a complete introvert, such an introvert. And so she drags me to this party, and I'm walking down this dock, not still conceptualizing that I'm on the ocean. And in front of me is this massive boat. And I remember looking at her and I said, is that a yacht?
So how big was that massive boat? Just to put it in.
So 16 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Just to put it
Big
in
was
perspective.
80 feet.
It was 80 feet.
Okay, but that was 16 years
I
ago.
know. Well, that's just to recap a little bit, because we'll continue your story because it's a great story. And David, if you want to say something, please go ahead. Right? It's like
It's an amazing story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come from
Thank
there
you.
To where you are now, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
To go for everything you've gone through.
well, we're not there yet. We're not at the
We're not
story.
there yet. We're almost there.
She's seeing her first vessel, and like it's an 80-foot vessel, and like. But I want to know, it's like. You triggered me with something. You triggered me, obviously, with the bullying. You triggered me with the fact that you not always make the right choices in life. Eh? You triggered me with the fact that you used to be an introvert. Would you consider yourself an introvert still, or are you now? Because I'm an introvert, but I'm able to flex myself, but it takes me a lot of energy. What are you? Are you a real introvert still, or you have become an extrovert? Do you get energy out of it?
I'm an extroverted introvert.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So very much like you. So like I can go and do this and be and loud and talk and be on stage and be on social media and work, but when I go home
No, I fall asleep.
and I shut the door, I am done. Like
Exactly.
my social battery is flat.
That's what I wanted to. I wanted to have the people understand that clearly. It's like we always say that we are who we are, right? But it's not true. We all flex in our behavior, right? So this extrovert, introvert, like myself, and I think you've got a bit of that, right, David, in yourself.
Well, we all. I just try and be myself all the time. You've got to try it, and this is battle in itself. Is just trying to be yourself all the time, because this industry presents you with opportunities to not be yourself all the time. But I've had an interesting journey myself to get here where I am today, and faced some pretty horrible things along the way. And the industries are not the friendliest place of sometimes. You know, it can be people really. Not helping you is the wrong word, but not really. The people who you thought you were friends aren't really your friends. You learn that when you do things like when I do what I'm doing now, and that's a big wake up call, and it makes you a lot stronger.
Yeah, I get that. Like, please hold that thought about like your journey, because I think we found some common grounds, right? And like, I'm not going to go deep into my journey because it's not about me; it's about the two of you. But we all struggle. I remember, like, this is just for you to know. 2 years ago, and I think Jess was with me, was on the dock and with a vessel which I will not name, and we were doing this run for mental health, and I was suffering at that moment, and we all go through our moments of suffering, right? And that was great because the support I received there from fellow industry members was amazing, and that made my week that week. But good, let's get back to Kelly. She saw the first vessel.
So I saw my first boat, asked her if it was a yacht, and she said yes.
Yeah.
And then I said, is this where we're going? And she said, yes. So she says, go on, motioning to climb up the sea stairs. And I'll never forget, I was 1 foot on the back deck, the other one still on the stairs, 1 foot on the back deck, and I looked around, And I said, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
The crazy thing is, I didn't know bow from stern or port from starboard 16 years ago. But I knew what I wanted to do was drive the damn thing.
And you knew you wanted to drive it? Mm-hmm. Straight away?
Mm-hmm. Straight away.
How cool is that?
It is really cool. I just knew that's what I wanted to do.
Was that like 15 years ago, 16 years?
16 years ago. 16 years ago.
And then, so how long did it take you to get into yachting, let alone become a captain?
Well, so I went out. We left the dock. We were doing, I think it was an engagement party or a wedding party or something for these folks, and we left the dock. And I remember just being so interested in watching the captain operate the controls. And when he fired up the engines, I immediately asked for a tour of the engine room before I ever asked for a tour of the rest of the boat.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the engine room, and then I never toured the boat. I went from the engine room to actually watching him maneuver the vessel. And I remember sitting, watching him maneuver the vessel, waiting for a bridge to open. And I looked at him, and I said, I can drive this thing. I don't know what I was thinking 16 years ago, remarking that. Again, still didn't know bow from stern or port from
Oh,
starboard.
you know you were a good welder.
Well, I was like, I mean, I grew up on a farm, driving tractors,
Yeah.
driving heavy equipment, working with my hands. Like, I had great hand-eye coordination. I'm like, I can do this. And it didn't go over so well with him. And he looks at me and he smirks and he's like, well, if you think you can, come back tomorrow. And I was like, oh, God. Oh, God, what have I just done? And so I came back tomorrow. And fast forward a couple of years down the road, I actually worked for him for 8 years. And I asked him one day, I said, why? Why did you take me under your wing? And he said, you don't see a drive and an energy and the tenacity that you have so often these days. And he said it was really refreshing to see someone that just had such a thirst to learn. And I was lucky straight out of the gate to get a mentor that was so good.
Oh my
I was
God,
so lucky
that's
to
so
find
amazing.
that.
I mean, there's quite a few people I speak that have found a mentor also in yachting, but it's one of those.
But you got to be looking for it.
Well, you were
doesn't
not
just
only
always fall in your lap.
you kind of asked for it.
I did. I think I kind of told him, like, I'm going to drive this thing, you know?
Yeah, you kind of challenged him, and
Yeah.
he took it the right way.
Yeah, yeah.
And he could also said like, well, woman,
Yeah.
go look at the
He
interior
could've told
crew
me-
and see
yeah,
what
he
you can
could-
do there.
well, exactly. He could have sent me straight away into the interior, and he didn't. And
Exactly.
But one thing he was very adamant about was that I spend a little bit of time in each department.
Yeah.
He says, you don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be a steward. You don't have to be a chef. He says, but if you're going to be a captain and a good one, you have to have spent a little bit of time in each department so that you know, so you can talk with them, so that you know what they're going through, so that you know what they need.
It's like running a business. You need to know every side of the business if you want to do it correctly, right?
Well, and I want to say this, and I think you'll agree with me.
Yeah.
Running a business is very much like running a yacht. A
Yeah,
yacht is a
totally.
business. My job as a captain is to not have all of the answers. My job as a captain is to find people smarter than me.
Totally, and that's like that's what we do. Like, I mean, I'm just here sitting with a microphone. We got Alexa behind the camera. We got
You got
Louise.
Jess. You don't have the skill set that Jess, Alexa,
No,
Arnold.
not even
You don't-
close.
No,
not
you
even
don't-
close.
No, not at all.
And like, thank God, not everybody recognizes that, so they still think that like it comes from me. But no, it's not my skill set. I'm surrounded the only thing I'm really good at
is building teams.
is building teams.
Yes.
That's my strength, and I think, and that's with a lot of the great captains or great head of departments and the great business owners. They're great at building teams. I'm going to pause you for a second because I want to go into the next part of the story. But before we do that, I think I want to see, David, before we talk about rubbish and we go trash talking,
Sure.
23 years,
Yeah.
and there's a story.
Well, I joined a certain gentleman in the industry called Martin Redmayne at this. It was called the Yacht Report magazine.
Yeah.
In the year 2000, and I joined as like the third person in the business. We grew it to 70 odd people. I became commercial director, sales manager, and I was traveling around the world like a crew member. And that's where when you're like selling equipment to like boats. Now that's what I do, sell equipment to boats. It's because I listen, and all of the people I was trying to sell advertising to back in the day, I went into their businesses to find out what they do, and then I was partying and having dinners with crew, project managers, captains, at all the shows, all the places we used to go to. And I heard about the biggest problems in the industry. Like one of the ones that people don't really know about, and I've heard from crew, is like it's essentially crew not getting involved in builds early enough. You know, it's a big theme running through like new builds is crew don't get involved in the builds early enough. So like in the galleys, they don't have enough plating up space for the amount of guests that are on board. You know, there's things that shipyards still put on board boats that are legacy equipment that just gets ripped off as soon as they come out of the shipyard. And I learned all about that for 10 years working at that.
So you learned how to listen. But like, I want to go one step back. I want to go to the human being, David, because we're talking human beings a little bit today, right? That's what Crew Chronicles about. And so you get a job with Martin Redman, who's like a legend in the industry, right? It's like a lot of people know him. But what made you go into this world?
I was lucky enough to fall into it, being based in London, and the company was based in London. And I was so lucky. It was like the year 2000. The internet was really kicking off, and they said when I went to the recruitment consultants, they said this company doesn't even have a website. You know, back in the year 2000, and it's quite an interesting place to be when you work for this kind of technical magazine and events company, because you are almost if you listen to people and you learn, you get an education in yachting. It's quite unique in the way it works, the people who are involved, and seeing how it's grown over the years. You know, from the year 2000, the industry's just ballooned.
Oh, and how? I mean, vessels are getting bigger. I mean, what I love about the past, I think we've been doing this for 15 years now, is the sense of importance that are now seen into crew, right? It has changed. Like, you've been in this for quite a while. It's like I think we're starting to recognize how important the captains, the head of departments, and the crew are in the industry, and it's something that you recognize as well, obviously.
Absolutely. I didn't know too many crew, say 10 years ago. I knew a few, but then selling the products that I do, and I'm not going to go into that now, but I tried to go to the yacht managers. I thought, they'll care. They'll want to make decisions to help the environment and help the hygiene on board boats. Some of them do, some of them don't. And I set up a machine in Monaco, this is about 8 years ago when I first started selling. Invited all the yacht managers. I know most of them. So I invited them to come and have a demo, because seeing is believing with products. And I sat in this place, I set it up, and one yacht manager came, and then I was like, I'm not going to sit here all day waiting for people to come. There's a whole world of boats down there. And I went and spoke to a crew, and they said, as soon as I told them about the machine, they were like, send me the invoice. And that just opened my eyes to like who the real, because the crew are the professional operators. And if something can improve the enjoyment of the vessel for the owner by them doing things better, that's all.
I mean, we all listen. It's an industry of flexibility. It's an industry of constant development, where there's change. It's like it's there. Let's go back to Kelly, because Kelly, there's two things that I feel at the moment are on top of everybody's mind. It's sustainability, and it is crew management and people management at the moment, right? Do you agree with me?
Crew retention, crew wellness, crew mental health. I mean, just our whole beings is top of mind right now. The crew and sustainability.
Yeah.
And
well, they go together, right? Because if you look at ESG, you got your like environmental sustainability, you got your social sustainability, you got your governance, right? So
it all goes together.
It all goes together.
It all goes together, and I mean, and when you can feel that you're doing something right with the planet, then that in turn makes you feel better as a human. But then when you feel good as a human, then it allows you to be so much better.
Hey guys, please take a second to listen to the message of the sponsor of the day.
Super Yacht Rubbish is a division of Complete Yacht Solutions that is revolutionising waste management on super yachts, navy vessels and commercial ships. We are the exclusive distributor of the Marinaut vacuum device, the world's most compact system to eliminate bin juice, improve hygiene and storage on board. We also have a glass crusher that can turn glass to a commercial sand. We hope to also be able to improve the systems in marinas and island chains worldwide.
I'm just sitting here chomping at the bit going, Super Yacht Rubbish. And he's talking about machines. And so that part of me is coming out, and I'm dying to know, like, I want to go back to your story and talk about some of the things that you've learned and how you've got here. And I want to know what Super Yacht Rubbish is. So help me here, because I have so many things I want to know.
Well, I'll give him a moment in a sec, but first I want to go, because obviously, just guys, how I met Kelly Gordon. I met Kelly Gordon. I had no clue because, so at a certain point, we host the Crew Awards, and this woman got nominated for the Master 500, right? This female captain, and obviously we don't decide who wins, so we did the whole procedure. And you're nominated. We ask you for all your information, your CV, videos, whatever. It goes through a bunch of judges, and then in Montenegro. The first time we met, I believe, right?
I won. I won.
You won it.
Wow.
You won Master 500 in that year, and we kind of connected. And don't ask me how. It just happened, and then I followed your journey a little bit because you're a great captain. You didn't win for no reason, but that takes you that is your job, your daytime job, but there's something that you are an advocate for, and that's why you have your channel.
Mental health. And so if we digress a little bit back to my 20s, 20s were hard for me. My 20s were a bitch, and I quit high school. I'd been made fun of. I'd gone through some bullying. I started getting depressed. My anxiety was always really high. And I thought that I was in that age when society really highlighted a woman graduates, gets married, buys the house, has the babies. And, even more so in my mom's day and age. But that was still kind of a thing. And so I thought, well, I could only find my worth by having a man. And so I got married, and that didn't work. And then I got married again, and that didn't work. And we might go for a third. This has happened since I saw you.
Did he propose?
He did.
Congratulations.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh my God! I guess the cat's out of the bag now.
So, Lex, I think this is like the teaser, like what's happening.
This was not how.
Wait.
Bag, but it's out now.
Where's Jess? Where's Louisa? Where's Jess?
Yeah.
Come get Jess. Jess. Wait, and I'm come on. I can't let this go by. Show it. Yeah. Come, you can congratulate her.
Thank you. When? Oh, what the fuck? You can say it as well, right? So we're just talking about my journey to happiness and mental health, and I said, well, I got married and divorced, and I got married and divorced, and then I might be getting married again. But
do we have to scope?
But let's go back to the
yeah.
So let's go back to that. So I identified myself, my worth, my value, and I realized over the journey that that's not it. And then during my second divorce, I became suicidal.
Wow.
And I think my chemistry degree for me to have the wherewithal to know that something was wrong biochemically and situational. I was in a bad situation. So fast forward, I entered myself into intensive therapy 2-3 days a week, going to a therapist, and I got better.
Yeah.
And then I entered the yachting industry and took a little bit of a dive again and realized that, just because you got better, you have to maintain this. This is like, your mental health is just like your physical health. You go to the gym and you lose 20 pounds. Yeah. You got to keep going to the gym, right?
You don't have a choice.
So then I went back into therapy and I was like, okay, I fixed it before. Now I have to learn how to maintain it. And through this journey in my 20s being so difficult, and then getting into my 30s, and then really becoming happy, and then seeing in the industry, the bulk of the industry are 20-somethings. I have such a have such a pull to the 20-somethings. I have such a soft spot because I know where I was. I taught college chemistry, which is that age. And then I started seeing some of the crap in the industry, and I started seeing some of the stories. And let me just say this with a disclaimer. I love my job. Arnold just asked me a few minutes ago, where do you get the energy? And I said, well, it's easy because I'm super passionate about being a captain, and I'm super passionate about my mental health brand. And when you're passionate about what you do, it gives you endless energy. So when I started seeing some of the crap that was going on in this industry, and having always been, despite the fact I'm an introvert, outspoken, I said, you know what, let me just rip the Band-Aid off of some of this stuff. And people started telling me along the way, Kelly, your story is inspiring. And this was before the mental health stuff started coming out, just about, me having quit school, then becoming a captain, it being male dominated. They're like, you really should share your story. So I started sharing my story, and people started from all over the world reaching out, telling me how I helped them live again, how I've inspired them to reach their goals, it doesn't stop. And then, then it turned into and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to start, my platform started growing, and I thought, you know what, I want to leave this world a better place. And for as long as I'm in this industry and have this, I think, a unique platform as being a female captain, I'm going to use it. And so I started speaking about mental health, and then you've been so awesome for a few years in a row now to provide me with space in Monaco and a platform and this and phone calls whenever I need it to give me a platform to speak about it at the show. And it's just I speak internationally now about advocating for crew mental health.
I'm so proud of you. I mean,
it's so cool to see how far it's gone. I literally just got here yesterday in Antigua, out the immigration doors. The doors split open, and this woman runs up to me, and she goes, "You're Kelly Gordon." And I said, "I am." And she says, "I just want to thank you so much. You've inspired me so much, more than you know. I've been following you for years." And she says, "I just wanted to say thank you." And we took a selfie, and she ran away. And it's really cool.
It is so cool. I just
social media, you can do that now, can't you? You can get that reach, can't you?
Yeah.
You can.
And you do that so well. And let's all get clear, because Kelly and I had a little conversation beforehand. You're not claiming to be a therapist, right? You're not claiming to cure people.
I'm not.
No.
And this is something that I think that is a good conversation to have, and you kind of alluded to it, and even you, as you grow.
Yeah.
And you become more and more visible, and you become more and more successful. The unfortunate part of that growth is naysayers, haters, whatever you want to call them. And it was really sad to me that I had someone reach out to me the other day and tell me that I needed to simply stop what I was doing, that I wasn't qualified. And I thought, but I'm not counseling anyone.
That's why I'm mentioning it, because
I'm not counseling anyone. I'm standing up on stage, sharing statistics, sharing data, sharing stories, exposing my own soul about what I've been through, saying and using my platform and voice as a captain. Industry, we need to do better. And then also talking to the crew, saying, no, this isn't right, this isn't safe, you have a moral obligation to yourself and your crewmates and deserve to be in a healthy workspace. I think this industry is amazing. I love it. I have to say it again. I love my job, but there's some shit to it, and
like in any job.
In any job, but the difference, and I say this all the time. The stuff that we deal with in our industry is no different than any other. But the huge difference, is that we live together, work together, play together. Like we're in a little pressure cooker together.
Okay, let's make that business comparison, and then I'm going to include David again in this conversation. It's like we said, it's like running a business, it's like building teams, and the captain is, in my opinion, I always say that, like, the captain is the CAO of a multi-million-dollar company without all the resources that a multi-million-dollar company has. Plus the fact that they have a crew that they have 24/7 together. And you like to call yourself a family, but I've learned one thing. If you call your team a family, it's also dangerous, because being a family comes with obligations, and you're not family, right?
It's a fine line to ride.
Yeah, it's a fine line to ride.
And you do, I think, a very good job of the line in between, loving your team, but also running your team.
I have to. It's an obligation I have.
And I think every day, all day, you're dancing on that line.
Yeah.
And I know that I am between, loving them, but yet running the program, and it's a dance all day long. And so I kind of want to go back to this for a minute. As you grow in a business, you're going to meet resistance.
Yeah.
You're going to meet turbulence.
Totally.
But keep going, because you can't let
Absolutely.
the 1% or the small tiny little group speak too loudly. It's got to be
ignore the naysayers.
Ignore the
amount
naysayers.
of naysayers that I had to deal with doing what I do now, and I just it's like water off a duck's back now, because I believe what I believe.
Exactly.
The people who I respect, I listen to.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and so this is something that's going on like right now. I think probably in all of our lives. Maybe you guys are at different points than I, but as I grow, I have to learn that there's going to be a small little corner, that maybe doesn't believe in what I do, and that's fine. But what I'm doing is nothing more than speaking up, getting on stages, exposing myself, and saying, industry, we need to do better for these crew members. We need to make sure that they have a physically and mentally safe space to thrive. And if I can do that, if all I have to do is get on stage and speak up, and Lord knows, there's so much more behind that with the data collection and the preparing the talks and the practicing the speeches and everything. And the messages that I receive about how I chose to live again, I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, keep doing it, and then so this is like a social sustainability, basically, and that's how I look at it, right? And we have an obligation, towards your colleagues, your friends, your loved ones, the people in your team, whoever it is, to help them. And I'm going to do the sustainability chat now, because the next thing
it goes together.
It goes together, and that's why when David says hey, I want to do one of those episodes with you guys, I'll support it. We thought a long time, who are we going to invite for that episode, right? Because it had to make sense. So we thought we can get one of the engineers of one of the bigger boats that deal a lot with or the deckhands or even interior crew that have to carry all that rubbish out into all these big plastic bags, and we don't even know how many you carried, right, in your life. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna when I heard that you were coming down, because Kelly's not here for the yacht show. Kelly's here.
I'm here actually working.
You're actually working for the boss.
I've got boats shipping in. Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's get Kelly here because it's a great story, and I think David's gonna relate to that story, and you do, because I see how engaged you are in it, and then let's then talk about the fact that. And I'm going to hand my microphone to David, because you're a captain with a farming background, a technical background. You're going to interview him way better than I would do.
Oh my God.
So I'm going to I know when
I know. You're giving up the microphone?
It's never happened. Wow. It's the first time.
Wow.
Yeah. So you told us that that you are engaged. I'm handing out my microphone the first time. I'll get it back though. And whenever I look at you and I want it back, I want it back. And then I want you to chat a little bit about what it is, and I want you to just ask the questions from your perspective as a captain and from you being a crew, how do you look at this, and just have an open conversation. And I'm going to sit back and I'm going to totally enjoy this.
Just absorb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I just met you a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
So excited. And you started telling me all about Super Yacht Rubbish, and I said, wait. We need to save all of this.
Yeah.
So, but I've got so many questions. The one thing that I want to ask is you were talking about your journey to here and how you've had a lot of growing pains along the way. I want to hear about that, and I want to hear about
we all do.
Super Yacht Rubbish. What is it? What does it do? And you're talking about selling these machines, and what are these machines? I'm sorry, but I didn't know who you were, and now I need to know.
Sometimes I miss a call from a yacht management company who want to verify bank details to pay for some of the stuff I do, and they say it's David from Super Yacht Rubbish, and they say to me, "Is that the name of your boat?" And I'm like, "No, it's not." But it just makes people chuckle. It makes people laugh. It's one of these things that I do. I say on social media, it's like hashtag trash talking tours. And people just love it, It's one of these things that
So what is it? What does it do?
Well,
is it a device, a machine?
Let's start with why the machine and why it's getting onto boats is the historically, talking to crew in the marinas, in the shipyards, and the one issue that they kept telling me was the worst issue on board boats, technical issue, was the bin juice, the smell of the waste on board, the hygiene of the waste, and how it affects the operation of the vessel. And can be the enjoyment of the owner. Historically, boats, especially boats that sit at anchor, have to stay close enough to the marina to be able to run the tenders twice a day.
To drop the trash
off.
Do trash runs. And something that's come about in some articles, and there's some truth to it, is some trash tenders that run around at certain islands picking up the trash, and then you think that they take it back to the proper site, and then they don't. And when I heard of that just broke my heart. So tell me,
in Sardinia, there's little boats that come out and they collect the there's a couple of stories here. If you're at anchor in Sardinia, little boats come out to collect the waste, and they're charging anywhere between 20 and I've heard up to 100 euros per bag.
Yeah.
For disposal.
I've had to pay $50 per bag for disposal. But tell me, so what is this, a machine? Is this a what?
Yeah,
tell me what
so
this
historically on boats you have compactors, which are hydraulic machines which crush waste, and you can't really do that with organic waste because it just splatters everywhere. You can do it with plastic and cardboards, and that's written into all the MARP into the new builds compactor or similar. And for 8 years I've been trying to get that to be vacuum device or similar. Because what I have is a machine that is 2 pumps taking all the air out of bags and sealing them. So food waste gets reduced to 30% of its size and sealed.
So it's like a compactor and a sealer?
It's a vacuum device. It's not a compactor. It actually takes all the air out of the bags, and it knows when it does that. It tries to get to 0.4 bar of pressure, and then it automatically triggers a heat sealing strip to seal the bags.
Okay, so kind of like when you're doing food, the vacuum sealers on the food.
It's a sous vide machine. It's chefs see it, and obviously people who understand galleys.
Yeah.
It's a large sous vide machine. Some chefs say, "Oh, I can put a leg of lamb in there, throw it in the jacuzzi, and seal it up and throw it in the jacuzzi, and it'd be like a sous vide bag."
Okay, so you do this with the garbage then. So then it also makes it smaller. It seals it. You don't have to worry about the smell.
Essentially, most boats aren't, most yachts don't have the facilities to hold the waste on board for more than 6 to 8 hours. And even boats that have fridges, the bin juice will still go everywhere. The fridge will still get filthy and dirty, and the crew have to waste their time cleaning it. But most boats don't have fridges to store the waste.
No, we didn't. I know the size vessel I was running chartering was 106 feet, and we were super busy jamming out 20 weeks a year, and it was always an issue. Like our fridges were stuffed with just our provisions, and then the waste was such a difficult thing.
This is part of the issue of crew not getting involved in the boats, but it's also the limitations of the technology we have at the moment, is that the chefs get on board the boats when they come on board, and they go, "I haven't got enough fridge space." So what was diagnosed as the garbage fridge soon gets taken over by the more important chef.
Yeah,
because waste is really the lowest common denominator, but it has the biggest impact in the whole industry.
More involved in the build process as a whole. I mean, and even when you go back to where I'm looking at things like just our accommodation space are so tiny.
Absolutely.
I didn't learn this until the other day that the size of our accommodation spaces is smaller than what's legally acceptable in U.S. prisons. I was like,
wow.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're allowed to go out.
But I'm allowed to go out.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is that. And my little small space is on a yacht. So there is that. I mean, life isn't so bad, but it's all the little things in the build process, the storage, like you mentioned, the plating space in the galley, the disposals, the size of the crew quarters, all of these.
A big trend of yacht design at the moment, especially on the bigger ones, are the out the back of the vessel, the aft of the vessel, are becoming beach clubs. Yeah. But that's where all the tenders used to go. Now they have to go up front up high with huge cranes that have to lift them up.
I know,
And try and
that's so
operate those in the
scary.
wind. These are
Yes.
4-ton machines sometimes.
Well, and then you can't operate it, and so then you have to tell the guests, sorry, it's too windy to operate the crane. You know, we can't go anywhere. I mean, so it's I mean, but it's not easy. I mean, you're essentially trying to take a very luxurious house and plop it in the water and expect it to run flawlessly. So I get the struggles there, but I agree with you. I think that more crew need to be involved with
I
the
think the
build
most
process.
important thing almost in new builds
Yeah.
is getting people who actually operate things involved earlier
Yeah.
in the build phase. But as we know, the builds of big boats take a long time. They can take 8 years, can be in a conversation with an owner 8 years before the boat's built in many places, and the designer sits down, works it out, then it's a 5-year, 4-year build process.
So how many boats is can I call it a machine?
Yeah, vacuum. It's called the Marinaut vacuum device. Most people call it the vacuum device.
Okay, so how big is this apparatus?
Super compact. Super compact. It's essentially, we've listened to the crew since we started selling it, because it was a machine all in one unit. That's really quite compact.
So does it integrate
itself.
with your trash can?
No, what happens is you have like a stainless steel box with 2 pumps in and a filter. And what happens is you've got a ceiling head unit, and you lift this on a hinge. So you lift it up, you bring your bags to the ceiling, you wiggle them into the clips, bring it back down and press start.
And this is all the garbage, not just the...
It can be anything.
It can be anything.
The
all
biggest
the
benefit is obviously organic waste, because that has a huge effect on the way boats operate. You know, I was here last year talking to a boat I met here in 2017. They're very interested in them. They have a small fridge on the foredeck, and they saw me here last year and they said, David, we need to talk. The owner's wife can smell the rubbish in the bedroom.
Oh.
The trash in the bedroom.
Yeah, you do need to talk. So how many boats are you on now?
Over 300.
Oh my gosh.
From 30 meters to 160 meters.
And how long did it take you to build this all to where you are now?
Probably this one product, just over 8 years of getting out. And I learned a long time ago, the crew are the people to talk to. They're the people. And now one captain said to me the other day, he said, David, you don't understand how many people who I work with underneath me, they're telling me about your machine and they want it.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
It's the sales force of the crew now.
But you had to go through a lot. You know me, I'm always going to find a twist to bring it back around to mental health. You started talking about it a minute ago. You had to go through a lot to get here. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we all have our challenges, whether it's family or, family can be the biggest thing that affects you. And, my dad left home when I was 12 years old and I had to become the man of the house, and it makes you grow up very, very quickly in that situation. And I went to work at this magazine company, which kind of it almost professionalised me. I'm highly dyslexic, so there's things like at the forum that Martin organised, the Super Yacht Forum, they used to lay all the badges out alphabetically. I can't do the alphabet because I'm so highly dyslexic.
Really?
And so I just went around shaking everyone's hands. And I literally got to know so many people.
Wow.
And I listened.
It's a good way to take a disability and flip that around, because it forced you to have to go and shake everybody's hands and meet everybody. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
and the backbone of this industry is who you know and what you know and who you know.
Yeah.
Generally.
Well, it's such a small, tight-knit little community. It's amazing. I mean, I love it. And I say all the time, what I love about the industry is you can go anywhere in this world, and if you need help, you're either going to know somebody or somebody's going to know somebody.
Got friends everywhere.
You. And there's no other industry like that.
Yeah, it's totally amazing. And the people who I sell things to, they're not really buying it themselves. It's professional purchased products. They're not paying for it out of their wage. It's the owner who's buying it, who's somewhere in the background.
Yeah.
Or the ownership, the yacht managers are the people who are paying it. They're getting the money from the owner. So you're not really... The crew understand the problems, and if you've got the right products and solutions, I had a great conversation with Corinne Rayson recently.
Oh, I love Corinne.
The crew coach.
I love her.
What an
I love her.
Inspiring person.
Yeah.
And she's got 2 children under 3.
She does.
And I said, yeah.
She's doing it. Yeah.
And there are a lot of naysayers in this industry, and I did a exhibition at Met's, and some people who I really respected just laughed at me. And I was like, well, I'm not going to talk to those people anymore. And surprisingly, they're no longer in the industry. Because with that kind of attitude, you're not going to be.
Well, that's just it. This goes back to authenticity and being real. And if you're not, it will catch up to you, And to me, I think that you can probably, anyone that's successful, I think, can attribute their success to just being really real and being their authentic self.
Well, a bit
100% of the time.
A bit like,
because when you're not.
I totally agree what you say about a captain and business, and you if you can't deliver on the promises you say you're going to deliver on, whether it's with crew or with products and services, you're not going to last very long.
No.
And the thing I'm probably proudest of what I've done is that not everyone's always going to be happy, of course. It's not always everyone's going to be, but it's like a 95% success rate.
Well, then there you go.
And the fact that the crew are then taking it to their next boat or taking it to the new build shows that the machine.
Well, we talk. Yeah, we talk and like you say, we carry ideas that we really like to our next boats and everything like that. So what's next for Super Yacht Rubbish?
Well, I see myself as like being part of the solution to helping the boats provide a better environment on board, a more hygienic environment on board. There's one boat, the sailboat, where they had 2 lockers on the front of the vessel, and they were like hydraulic doors with teak decks on top. One of them had water toys in. The other one was a stainless steel receptacle with all the food waste in. When they brought the teak deck back down, the sun just beat it, and it cooked all the waste. Crew had their beds underneath the waste receptor, and stainless steel leaches, and the smell comes through. So literally in their beds, they were smelling all the bin juice. And they put my machine on board now, and
everybody's happy?
I got a beautiful email from the chief officer saying we did a 10-day boss trip, no smells, no rubbish runs, we could go further away from the marina. It's so nice to get that feedback.
It is.
I think the next thing, to get back to your question, the next thing is, on the boats is one thing, in the marinas and the island chains is a different thing. So I say, this machine allows boats to take the bags. One captain said to me, I love your machine, I'm not going to leave 100 bags on some island somewhere. I'm going to take it back to the marina, and we're going to hopefully have facilities there. And a big thing, when I talk to boats in places like Antibes, I say, what happens with the waste here? And they said, we sort it out, we put it in the right bins. Then one lorry comes along and mixes it all together. But the next thing is going to be sorting out these island chains and the marinas. So it's a machine which is going to use the waste to burn it with no emissions, producing a gas that can either be burned for hot water. They're putting this into the NHS at the moment, but it could be that it produces hydrogen or methanol from this gas.
That's going to be revolutionary.
Then we could put hydrogen fuel cells with it, coupled with solar, decarbonising all the marinas, all the island chains.
That is going to be revolutionary.
That's revolutionary, guys. What a great one this.
What a great.
This was amazing. David, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for sharing your story and also for sharing your journey, because I think that's so important, because we all want to know each other a bit better, right? It's like we meet each other in shows and around, and we talk, we laugh, and we pretend that everything's fine, but we all go through our struggles, we all have our journeys. Kelly, thank you so much for popping by and doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's good to meet you too.
Guys, this was episode 2 of Crew Chronicles. Back soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.